Hello everyone, it is Suzanne here, and it is You Asked, We Answered. And this question again came out of a discussion in my mastermind. And I want to ask you this question because it was great, and I could so relate to it, and I bet many of you do. So of course, one of the areas that we've been focusing on is building a schedule and managing yourself in time. You know, we can't manage time; we can only manage ourselves in time. So everybody in the mastermind is busy, really taking on the desire to be more effective with their time, more powerful with their time, and really to learn to value their time. And one of the questions was, what happens when you build that beautiful schedule, you've got your day planned out, and then people show up, things show up, emergencies show up, and it totally takes you off course? What do you do? And it's a great question because it's life, right? And so there was a few things that was really interesting as I answered this question. One is because most people say that, as soon as I build my schedule, life shows up. And it's like, oh my gosh, like I can't do this. And this is the first thing to realize. Life shows up all the time. But the moment you build a schedule and you become conscious of how you are mastering yourself in time. In other words, the decisions you make in the relationship to the 24 hours you have, you suddenly feel that life is coming up unexpectedly. It's not that life is coming up unexpectedly. It's always been doing what it's doing. It's because you have become intentional with your time and you notice it because it's taking you off course and you're conscious of going off course. Whereas before you'd be running here, running there, and just running, but not aware of how other things are taking your time. So the first thing is just that awareness. The second thing is, if you are like me, when I first started with this schedule piece and really learning my own mastery around time, I would have the to-do list. The to-do list was massive. And the to-do list always left me disappointed because I would put so many things on my to-do list that I would never complete it. So I'd always feel like I was incomplete or falling short at the end of every day. But my to-do list was also so massive that if any emergency came up, it just felt like I was totally taken off. There was no time for life's things that life threw my way. It was always a hot mess. So one of the things I actually did was I said, I'm not going to do a to-do list. I don't want to do a to-do list. So I started doing an outcome list, and it was asking myself, what are the 3 outcomes I want to achieve today? And outcomes are things that move my life and business forward. They're different than to-dos. They're movement oriented, outcome oriented. The outcome will move me. And so I started doing these outcome days, and I was only allowed to put 3 things on my plate, 3, sometimes even 2. And what began to happen was, as I went into the week with at least 1 to 2 clear outcomes, 3 big outcomes that I wanted, and each day I would break those outcomes down and just look at a little piece of it, I became more effective. But it also left time for those things that come unexpectedly. It didn't take me way off course. So that was the second thing. But this is the final thing, and this was Suzanne's biggest learn. I don't know about you, but I see myself as the go-to. And what I mean by the go-to, I am the recovering Superman, I'm the Superwoman, I'm the recovering super mom, I'm the recovering, I can do it all myself, I am the island, I am that person. And even being that person, I would get frustrated because I'd say people always drop stuff at my feet, put it on my plate. And having to realize that my pattern was that I was always open to receiving whatever people dropped on my plate. I actually took pride in being able to get all these things done. I actually took pride in being the go-to. It was actually part of my identity. So once I recognized that pattern, I had to take on some of Stephen Covey's work and really ask myself, what's urgent to me and someone else is very different? And does somebody's thing that's urgent have to be done by me? Or does it have to be done when they say it has to be done? And when I started looking at life from that place, it was amazing how aware I became about my need to rescue, save, serve, do things that were not always in my best interest, and also enabled other people. And once I began to evaluate, does this have to be done by me? 1. And does this have to be done now too? And does my doing this actually serve the other person in the long run? 3 big questions. And oftentimes it was no, no, and no. And that meant it wasn't for me to do, or it wasn't for me to do now. It shifted everything. And suddenly my world opened up and there was more time. And I had more mastery with my time. Why? Because I was able to set limits, boundaries, and say no. And say, this is not mine to take on. This is not my battle to fight. This is not mine to rescue. This is not mine to do. And from that place, things shifted. So if this is you, I'm going to ask you some quick questions. Does the things that are being put in your plate, on your plate, have to be done by you? Do they serve the other person for if you do it? And does it actually have to be done now? Is it urgent? Because it may not be. The second thing is, are you overloading your plate with all the to-dos? Right? Are you overloading your plate? It's a key question. And the third thing is, are you truly committed to mastering yourself in time? Right? And understanding the power of that mastery. Because this little area changed my life, and I trust it'll do some magic for you. The question became a great discussion in our mastermind. People began brainstorming, and we looked at ways to solve that. And some things came up that were really great solutions for everybody that was listening. So I loved the question. I thought I'd share that with you, give you a little bit of insight. And this is our discussions. They're great, they're powerful, and they move us forward. Take care, everyone. Have a great week. I'll be back here with a question for next week. Bye-bye.